Reverend Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant. First, let me say, please have a seat, please have a seat. First, let me say, brother, you are as clean as a hotel chitlin. Oh my God. I thought I had it going on, you know. Then he pops out of his office and I just fell to my knees. You are not only beautiful in spirit and mind, but you are eloquent and elegant and bold in your attire. I love that about you. So let me get one thing straight. Yes, I am black. In case you were not entirely sure. That is the beauty of our culture and race. We come in all shapes, sizes, skin tones, and hair textures. Lots of options out there. No need to stray. I'm sorry. I know I'm in Atlanta. But I've been married to the same sister for 46 years. That's 4-6. People ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, what is the key to staying married to the same sister for 46 years? And it is a one-word answer, amnesia. Amnesia, yes. Dr. Fraser's going to do some stupid stuff in his 46 years. Nora Jean's going to do something stupid every now and then. When we do our stupid stuff, we discuss it. We reach a middle ground. We then bless it and release it, never to bring it up again. Then we go back to raising our children, serving our community and culture and people, and fulfilling our vows till death do us part. You are on a magnificent piece of land, in an edifice second to none in the black faith-based community. The question that you have to ask yourself as responsible, conscious black people: have you leveraged and maximized the potential of 250 acres? They ain't making any more land. You're on prime land. Land that God wants us to develop in the spirit of a nation. And a nation has an economy. And a nation has resources to feed and to invest into its citizenry. You have been blessed with this land. Over the next decade, something more promising, something bigger, something better is in store for New Birth as it relates to this land. The leadership will come. God works in mysterious ways to lead you into the proper development of this land. I want to be a part of that in any way that I can. I got a few ideas. I'm going to reveal a couple of those ideas to you in the context of my talk. May God grant me the words to speak your thoughts. I want to refer to one of my favorite passages in the Bible. It is a direct quote from Jesus Christ. There are 800,000 words in the average Bible. Only about 1,026 words are direct quotes from Jesus Christ. About 800 of those 1,026 words are about economics and wealth. But there is a quote that is profoundly important as it relates to all of us. And it certainly has been in my life. It is John 5:30. If you have not read John 5:30, when you go home, read John 5:30. And Jesus said, I of my own self can do nothing. Now this was Jesus. Jesus couldn't get it done on his own by himself in a vacuum. So what's up with you? Why would you think that you could do or we could do anything significant, anything worth talking about on our own by ourselves in a vacuum? This passage says to me, Pastor, that we were born to network, that we were born to link together in a common bond of caring and sharing. It is easy to break a finger. It is hard to break a fist. The strength is not in the wolf. The strength is in the pack. It is at this moment in time, as the world swirls around us, and we are still considered less than, that it is nation-building time. In every church, in every community, in every place that we are, that God has given us every single thing we need to succeed. We have everything we need to succeed except each other. Jews have each other. East Indians have each other. Asians have each other. Arabs have each other. We don't have each other, but we have the intellectual capital. We have the resources. We have the skills. We have the property. We have the churches. We are the most morally grounded and spiritually rooted people in the world. But many of us have forgotten who we are. Not only have we forgotten, Pastor, we have forgotten that we have forgotten. That we are the children of the slaves that would not die, that we have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in huts eating each other. And in spite of the fact that America kept its foot on our throat for 350 years, we overcame that and we rose like the phoenix. So if everything happens for a reason and serves us in some special way, and you will never understand that reason looking forward, and you will only understand it looking backwards, if that is in fact the truth, and it is the truth, maybe we were not brought here. Maybe we were sent here. Do you believe that God would put his weakest people here to do his toughest job? I don't think so. How could an America who could morally, spiritually, biblically justify the kidnapping, raping, and pillaging of another two people, natives already in America, and Africans brought to America, have any moral or spiritual grounding? And perhaps had God not sent us here, America might have self-destructed by now. We are an awesome and powerful people. We are the mothers and fathers of humankind. It is nation-building time. An editorial. I have not committed it to memory. I'm going to read it to you. It is short. But I want to say the next things and still be loved. I believe that African Americans are at a pivotal point in history. The world is not waiting for us to wake up to our power. It is time for African Americans to take a seat at the table, not only in America, but also in the global economy. And unfortunately, we continue to place our power in the hands of those who have historically oppressed us. And even worse, we continue to oppress each other. This is the meaning of internalized oppression, to continually fall into the cultural hypnosis of thinking that white America controls our lives is a true abdication of our personal power. And the reality is that each and every day is an opportunity to create a new and powerful story in our culture. And unless we find a way to write this new story and to claim our power, there will be devastating implications for our community and for the world. In other words, brothers and sisters, there is no one to save us but us. But the fantastic news is that as people of African descent, we possess enormous untapped creativity and potential as individuals and as a collective network. And once we fully tap into what makes us tick, what unleashes performance in our culture, only then will we assume our rightful place on the global stage. To be black and beautiful in America means nothing unless you're black and powerful. Interpret power as money. Interpret power as wealth. You cannot be black and proud and niggers too. Let me repeat that for you. You cannot be black and proud and niggers too. White folks are planning for 3 generations and we're planning for Saturday night. Economics in the 21st century for us must become the new black power. The goal here, brothers and sisters, is to win, not to look like we're winning. I would rather carry a plastic bag with $5,000 in it than to carry a $5,000 Louis Vuitton bag with $100 in it. That's looking like you're winning. You ain't winning. Proverbs 13:22 tells us what? That a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. USA Today tells us something different. I hope you saw this article on the front page of USA Today about black baby boomers, my generation. I'm 74. I know I look like I'm 35 or 40, but you know black don't crack, right? Front page of USA Today, below the fold. Bottom line. African-American baby boomers will be the first generation of Africans in America to raise another generation of Africans in America that will not do better than them. So in the 400-year history of our people, we are the only generation to raise another generation that will be worse off. We need our behinds kicked. Count me out of that. I will not be a part of that egregious statistic, and neither must you. Let me say the next thing and still be loved. White people will not be saving black people, in case no one has told you. White people are not even thinking about black people. Do you know who white people are thinking about? White people. They're thinking about their husbands, their wives, their schools, their communities, their businesses, and their neighborhoods. And that's who they should be thinking about, because that's who we should be thinking about. Our husbands, our wives, our families, our schools, our neighborhoods, our churches. Asians ain't thinking about us. In fact, Asians have solved their own unemployment problem opening small Asian restaurants in urban communities. In fact, if you go into an Asian restaurant and there are 4 brothers waiting on you, leave. That's not a real Asian restaurant. Asians don't employ black people. They employ Asian people. I had a good white friend who said to me, Dr. Fraser, I know what black people's problem is. I said, oh, really, Bob? What might that be? He said, well, you spend all your time thinking about us, and we don't spend any of our time thinking about you. So if you ain't thinking about you, and we darn sure ain't thinking about you, who's thinking about you? Well, I had to do a Holy Ghost dance on that. I wish we read more. We don't. You know the old saying, you want to hide something from a black man? Put it in a book. April of 2016, the Institute of Policy Studies came out with a 200-page report on the wealth gap, the widening wealth gap between blacks and whites in America. Here was one of the conclusions. If nothing changes among African Americans, it will take them 228 years, if ever, to close the wealth gap between blacks and whites in America, but it will take Hispanics 89 years. Institute of Policy Studies. 228 years. That's almost the amount of time it took us to get free. Why will it take Hispanics 89 years and take us 228 years? There's a very simple answer to that. If you know anything about the Hispanic culture, of which you have a large population of Hispanics in Atlanta, there is one word that is the thread that runs through all Hispanic culture: la familia, the family. Therefore, they have two working on their wealth issues, and we have one. The final statistic that came out of this interesting study, and the interesting thing about white folks, and there's some good white people out, I'm not hating on white people. There's some white folk out here that know us, love us, respect us, invest in us. But the one thing white folks do, or does, incredible, is that they can count. They are into data analytics. They're into data points. They measure everything. And then they trend it. They have more data on us and statistics on us than we have. Why? Because we are the consumption class and they are the merchant class. They make stuff, we buy stuff. Every time you buy stuff, there's data points. And they can trend that. And they can say, based on their data, here's what it looks like. Here's where you're going if nothing changes. The final comment in the Institute of Policy Studies was one of the most egregious statistics I've heard in my lifetime. It said by 2053, 10 years after the country is projected to become majority non-white, black median families will own zero wealth if current trends continue. In other words, we've got about 30 years or so, or we will work our way into a second slavery. So we can choose to do something productive and meaningful and powerful, maybe even radical, in those 30 years, or we can choose not to do something. Kanye West last summer said that slavery was a choice. He was wrong. He was thoroughly criticized for that. We have 30 years to turn this around. In 50 or 60 years, will our great-great-grandchildren say, we chose slavery because we chose not to act aggressively on what all of the statistics and all of the trends say? It is our choice. We had a choice like this in 1964. President Lyndon Baines Johnson commissioned Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan, a former Harvard professor, to do a major study on the Negro family because there were some disturbing trends that they had tracked in the black community. He did his study, and in 1965, he published the Moynihan Report. And we were not happy. Essentially, here is what the Moynihan Report said. There are some disturbing trends on how you mate, I'm paraphrasing, and the government cannot legislate your sexual proclivities, so actually We can't solve this problem, but we're just going to bring it to your attention. The out-of-wedlock birth rate in America in 1964 and 65 was 5%. But the out-of-wedlock birth rate in black America was 25%, 5 times the national average. So the bottom line of the report said, unless something changes among the values in your culture, over the next 40 years, your out-of-wedlock birth rate is trending into the 70s. And if it reaches in the 60s or 70% of out-of-wedlock birth rates, that will then become the cornerstone for the destruction of the black family and send you into poverty and ultimately into a second slavery. That was the prediction in 1965. We chose not to do anything. What happened? Exactly that happened. Out-of-wedlock birth rate in America, 72%, 62% of our children are raised by a single-parent family, and there is destruction in the black family. So now we have a choice, Pastor. Do we act on this warning sign? We've got about 30 years. Or do we not? One final statistic, I don't want to bore you to death with statistics, but this was one of the most egregious headlines I have read in my lifetime of 74 years. Front page of the Boston Globe, December of 2017, made national news. Boston is one of the wealthiest cities in America, the home of America's most elite education. Harvard, MIT, Boston College, Bryn Mawr, Sarah Lawrence, Boston University. The headline was so egregious, it was on the front page, they had to qualify the headline in the headline. I'm going to read you the headline from the Boston Globe. This is no typo. The median net worth of black Bostonians really is $8. Those Negroes are 32 years ahead of schedule in one of the wealthiest cities in America. So we can listen or not listen. It is our choice. The 21st century for us must be a faith-based initiative around financial education and financial literacy. There are 2,500 references to wealth and economics in the Bible. We are lethargic around the preaching, teaching, and evangelizing around those principles. We do not understand why wealth is important. Why is wealth important, Dr. Fraser? Not so that we will have money to buy more stuff. In fact, we're the only culture in the history of humankind that put political empowerment before economic empowerment. Last year, we elected over 9,000 black public officials, and we're still at the bottom of the educational and economic heap in this country. 400 years later, we're still at the bottom of every single economic and educational statistic in this country. 400 years later. Why is wealth important, Dr. Fraser? Because your wealth will determine where you live. Where you live will determine where your children go to school. Where your children go to school will determine the quality of your children's higher education, and the quality of your children's higher education will determine their lifelong earnings. And your children's lifelong earnings will determine where your grandchildren live. And where your grandchildren live will determine the quality of your grandchildren's higher education. And your grandchildren's higher education will determine the lifelong earnings of your grandchildren, and that will determine what they... You see the cycle of poverty here? Why is wealth important, Dr. Fraser? Because in a market-based economy, in a democratic capitalistic society, the only color that really matters is green. Put $1 billion next to your name. Let's see the intensity and level of racism that you experience with 1 billion after your name. In a market-based economy and a democratic capitalistic society, the only color that really matters is green. So until our pile of green is as big and as wide and as high and as deep and as leveraged as any other cultural group's pile of green, we will never be considered an equal at the table of democratic capitalism. Why is wealth important? Because when we finish pontificating ad nauseum about our issues, somebody's got to write a check. Our Jewish brothers and sisters can write a check. Our Asian brothers and sisters can write a check. Our Arab brothers and sisters, I'm recently returning from Dubai, can write a stupid check. We can't write a check. In spite of the fact that we are $1.2 trillion, 1.5 actually trillion dollar annual economy. The idea that the black community can exercise effective power, political or otherwise, without simultaneously exercising economic power is a fantasy. When we look at the world today, brothers and sisters, we will understand that capitalism without capital is just ism. And right now we have all the isms. Believe it or not, I can't believe it, I'm down to 10 minutes. Thank you for coaching me there. So I'm going to truncate a couple of things. Let's say this is a two-part presentation. I'm giving you the 30,000 foot view right now. And if I'm invited back, I'll give you the second part. But it's just too much information relative to our schedule today. And I want to honor the schedule of work that has to be done, because there are workshops after this. We are going to do something about these problems. We're going to take some bold actions. For the last 3 years, my organization has developed WINS, Wealth Building Centers. It's a faith-based initiative. There are 85,000 black churches. About 10,000 of them have wealth ministries, but those wealth ministries need to be upgraded. The people in and teaching in those wealth ministries need to be upgraded. They need to have a license in some financial service, and they need to be a certified financial education instructor. So we are developing a system that will upgrade, and you saw the flyer. And I want you to have one of these pastors. This is what the WINS, we have a vision mission, we have the 10 commitments to financial freedom. It's an incredible system. Ideas are great, brothers and sisters, but systems are better. This is a system. Over the next 15 years, we're going to install 10,000 of these wealth building centers where you come for free, and we're going to utilize the underutilized brothers and sisters who are licensed in financial services. There are about 121,000 black people licensed in a financial service, be it insurance, be it real estate, be it stocks and bonds, Series 7, Series 8, tax preparation, you name it. There's a tremendous amount of underutilized talent. We're going to get them certified in financial education instruction, and they're going to drive the faith-based initiative, because it has to be done in the church. We cannot take on something this important, this big, this systemic in our culture without recruiting the army of morally grounded and spiritually rooted brothers and sisters who are in the church and are talented. That's the first reason. The second reason, the most important institution we have in our culture is the black church. Every single thing that is good, that has ever happened for black people, has come out of leadership from the black church. So to think that you can tackle economic development and economic education and financial literacy outside of the most important and blessed institution for over 200 years in our culture is a pipe dream. It will be done in the black church. We developed them. I did the prototype in my church, and we've launched 3 of them so far. Mount Carmel Baptist Church, a megachurch in Charlotte, and 2 megachurches in Birmingham. We did this in just the last 3 months. Thousands of people show up for the ribbon cutting. The congresswoman was there. The mayor was there. This is a big deal. I want to recruit. I'm going to get on bended knees and beg you to install one of these wealth building centers, WINS wealth building centers, and curriculum in this church. Now, by the way, we have our own curriculum. Why do we have our own curriculum? Because black people learn differently than white people. We're oral, visual, tactile, kinesthetic, and auditory learners. That's what we are. So the curriculum, 75 modules, it has a teacher's guide, it has a student workbook, and it has a lesson plan for 75 elements of wealth management, and all the basics, beginning with the psychology of money, the emotions of money, you name it. We want to install one here. We will introduce you if you join us at the Power Networking Conference in June 26th through the 29th in Houston. We will introduce you to the incredible pastors that have already opened a WIN Center with testimonials. We hope that you come to the Power Networking Conference. You should have a flyer. It is our 18th, and it will be the most important conference that we've ever had. The company is 31 years old. Fraser Net is 31 years old. But the conference is 18 years old. There are many reasons you should be there, but this particular year will be a critical year. It will be a radical year. Because not only are we installing a system for financial education and literacy in our black church, if you can do me a favor and show that picture of the flag. We are birthing a new nation. We are birthing a new nation. Fraser Nation, citizens of generational wealth. That's the tagline. It used to be Fraser Net. As you know, I've been at Fraser Net for 31 years. Connect, grow, and prosper. Well, we're now morphing from a network that is membership-based to a nation that is citizen-based. And you cannot become a citizen automatically of any nation. You have to qualify. This is our flag. And there's tremendous symbolism on everything on that flag. Those little things that look like stars that go around the continent of Africa are not stars. They look like stars. They are an Adinkra symbol from the ancient Akan. And it means lightness, the children of God. That's what it means. The continent in the middle is the center of humankind. This is where man and woman were born. We are the mothers and fathers of humankind. It is gold because it is the wealthiest of all continents that God has put on this earth. The F does not stand for Fraser Nation. The F stands for freedom. And you will notice that the F is open. And the blue that surround it are the oceans that connect the Pan-African world. It represents the oceans that we came here and stuffed in the hulls of slave ships crossing the Middle Passage. But most importantly, it represents the connectivity Pan-Africanly This is how we get to each other. You know, it's open. It's open so that we can go in and out of Africa and to any place in the Pan-African world through the waters. And the slight colors on the bottom there is actually, it's white, blue, and gold. So our colors are what? Blue and gold. The white stripe there looks like yellow, but it's white. Says that when we see our likeness, we will then be able to navigate the oceans and to reach our goals. G-O-A-L-S and G-O-L-D. We are planting our flag. And when you plant a flag, what is the job of the President of the United States? To defend the flag. And all of the resources of the nation are given to the leader of that nation to defend the flag. We now will defend our flag. We have a flag to defend. We will have an anthem next year. We are negotiating with Gamble and Huff and Kendrick Lamar. One anthem. So join us as we birth a new nation, as we teach our people the 4 pillars for the intergenerational transfer of wealth, which is the essence of our curriculum: proper management of accumulated wealth, real estate, business ownership, and proper insurance. Those are the 4 pillars. 60% of all wealth is transferred tax-free to tactical and strategic placement of proper insurance. That is all we have time for now. There is much more to say. I close with one of my favorite quotes outside of the Bible. It is a quote by Marcus Aurelius. Marcus Aurelius was one of the 5 great Caesars, and he said this around 60 BC. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances the action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let me say that differently. The obstacle is the way. Where there is no obstacle, there is no way. What is the first thing that God does when He gives you an assignment? He puts an obstacle in your way. And your job is to find a way over, around, through, or under the obstacle. And when you do that, you get an atta girl or an atta boy, a pat on the back, and then you're given the next assignment at a slightly higher level. And then once God gives you the next assignment, what is the next thing that He does? He puts an obstacle in your way. And when you look back over your life, when we look back over our path, how God works the 400 years of Africans in America, you will see our story has been overcoming obstacles. None of this will be easy. But if it was easy, why would God need you? We are the children that would not die.